on, why do I start things? Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am going to Winter Wonderland in Cardiff with some friends for my course. Georgine is behind the camera, hence why I do not have hats on it. So I hope you enjoy it. We're going on that Ferris wheel.
Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headache stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface, a heart attack. And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need. What you need. We're broken, it's tragic. We're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic. Believe you could have it, and I know.
What did you think of the ride?
It was fun. Chocolate is
Haven't done this in a while. Okay, first up, if you hear noises, my medical insulin fridge finally arrived, but it makes noise at all times. So try sleeping beside that when it randomly whirs to life, when you're just on that precipice of being able to sleep. It's fun. Anyway, so this video is about my first placement at uni, which was on a show called Grimm Tales. This here is a collection of stories, and we did 5 of them adapted into a story structure. Stories like Little Red Riding Hood, Thousand Furs, Goose Girl, Hansel and Gretel, and The Juniper Tree. So my role on this placement was, it started off, well, my all-encompassing role was that of tech swing. That's a very fluid role. It generally meant I was technical support on whatever was needed. So if the ASMs or the SM needed help, I would chip in there. Any tasks was needed, I would run and do those. Very fluid role, but very quickly my role kind of changed into the LX assistant / programmer and operator of the board for the show. How did that happen? Well, you see, seeing as I'm doing a master's, a lot of our classes are squashed into, in total, about 12 weeks over like a full year. So we get 12 weeks of teaching, and then the rest is placement, where we get experience. And we had at that time exactly 1 lecture, maybe 2, one on rigging lights and about lights, and 1 on boards. I thought it was like kind of interesting. I was like, oh, that'd be fun to do a bit more of. And then when the lighting designer on Grimm Tales mentioned they need an assistant for programming and operating for the show, I was like, I can do that. Filled with, you know, the audacity to suggest that I, with 2 classes under my belt, could totally do this. I was like, I will do it. And suddenly then I was in a room by myself for 2 weeks with the board, the lighting board that we used for the show, which was an ETC geodesk. We booked that out, and I taught it to myself through use of YouTube tutorials on the ETC site. This is actually the book that I used to make notes on everything I was learning. So things like patching, manually creating submasters, being able to operate submasters, lamping on and off, how to do effects, so like the stock effects that come with the board, like circle effects, how to build an effect of my own, which I used a couple of times in the show, where I built a strobe effect or I built a flicker effect to match what was needed for a sign or for lights that actually didn't flicker in the first place. Well, because they don't have a strobe setting, but they really wanted strobe, so we built a strobe effect, which was pretty cool. So here is where I'm going to put in what a typical day of that would look like. So, armed with 2 weeks of teaching myself this desk and being stressed that I wasn't going to be good enough, and probably more than I need to be, but also at that time I needed to be that stressed to give myself the kick up the ass to actually learn the desk. But armed with the fact that I had spent 2 weeks learning this desk and I had known as much as I was going to be able to know at that point, we went into tech. Tech was fun. Tech was definitely experience because it was showtime for my skills. It was where I had to prove that I actually knew what I was talking about. So the general process of tech is, before tech you have your get-in process where you do kit prep, where all of the LX sound stage manager kit arrives into the venue and you check through it to make sure you have everything that you need. You have a toolbox talk where you're taught the safety of the space and you kind of go through any safety measures, fire evacuation process, know what your job is. You put lists of things that need to be done during the get-in to be done and then you start unloading your kit. At that time I was still struggling to tell lights apart. I knew how to operate them, but if you told me to find a profile or a Fresnel or a Parcan, I was like, give me a second to remember the difference. And then you had things like the 2550 zooms, and like luckily they're written alongside of the like lantern, but that was definitely something I had to like be a bit slower on the uptake for. Then after that we like pulled out all our lights and started labeling them for which flybar they're going to go on. Those are things that are usually in the ceiling that you lower in, or you get a ladder to go up to them to hang your lights on, or any other thing that needs to be hung. And for some reason I kept ending up on the head rope flies, which is like manually flying in a bar where you have to like feed it, and I'm stronger than I look, but I'm also not that strong. I managed to do it for a couple and then had to get help to help me lower the rest of the bars because my hands started cramping quite badly. I started off joking, being like, when does the hand cramp start? And then the guy was like, do you want help? And I'm like, yes please. Yeah, and then like when we had to lower it to like try and even out the bar, it took 3 of us to lower that bar, because bars get heavy when you have a lot of lights and sound and everything else attached to it. So yeah, so then after the lights and sound are in, the stage is marked out, the seating bank is in, and then the set is put in. This was our set. And then tech starts. Tech is when you start putting together your lighting cues, you start running them in time with the show, and it is dubbed Hell Week. Like Tech Week is usually Hell Week because they are long hours. We were pulling 13-hour days during get-in and tech, because we would come in at 9 AM, we'd leave at 10 PM and do 3 tech sessions per day. It was an all hands on deck situation, and it's exhausting, but it's so worth it. Like you literally go home to sleep and barely eat. You learn early on to batch cook meals. Like I think I ate the same like chickpea curry type thing that I made. Like I just froze portions so that I could like take it out of the freezer the night beforehand and bring it in with me, and I ate the same thing for 2 weeks because you had no time to cook or do anything outside of tech and sleep. But yeah, you do that. You pre-plot, which is what you do before the actors come in, is you plot some states of lighting or sound for the space. So for me it would be the lighting designer, and I would sit there and program in the lights, and then the director would come and see the states, tell us if they liked them, whether they'd like us to change anything, or whether they'd like us to add another state in between, because we were just building like the basic bare bones of the show of it, and like this cues that thought were needed, and then they would be added to, and also added to as tech would go on. We then had the actors in, did the tech process with them, ran it a few times with them so they knew what the lights would look like, and that we could see what would happen in the show, because a lot of us wouldn't have had time to go into the rehearsal room because we were doing other things with our roles. So it was being able to see the show. Then we had our first dress run. So tech sessions, generally you don't do a full show in tech. Like if you're able to run a full show before the dress run, that's a miracle. We had a certain amount of tech sessions, and by the end of each like session we would have wanted to get a story done. We had 5 stories. We had a schedule of like during these 1 or 2 tech sessions we will be tackling this story, then we'll move on to the next one, finish it off, move on to the next one. It's really funny because at least me looking through my cues in my script is I can see when we were getting to the end of our tech sessions, because we had less light cues, because it was like, oh, we need to finish up. We do not have time to like labour and like put in a ton of light cues. So you do those sessions, then you do the dress run, which is the first time you run the show properly. The first time that I was operating a full show rather than just small sections that would be stop-started, because the nature of tech is it's stop-start. You do something, stop it, reset it, redo it, tweak things, redo it. And then sometimes during that process you'd have the lighting designer be telling me to change quick things while a state was up before we'd move on to the next cue, which means you had to know how to navigate that board quickly so that you could like enter it and save it before it moved on to the next cue. Which stressful, but I kind of thrived on that a little bit, at least for the start. When we had the first dress, we got to the interval, and being the nature of it was my first time operating a board, it was my first time doing the show straight through. We got to the interval of the show and I panicked because a few of the cues had misfired, or I'd fired them early or late, or hadn't heard something, and I kind of just like cried at the board because I thought I'd like messed everything up. And our venue tech came down to me and said, "This is the whole point of you being here. You're meant to learn, you're meant to mess up. This is a learning environment. You've never touched a board before. You have never done lighting before. You don't study it the same way as the rest of us do. It's okay to mess it up." My perfectionist qualities wanted me to get it perfect first time round, but that simply just is not possible. You're going to fail at some point, and that's okay. And once I got through that, I was fine. I did the second half with less problems. And after that, I settled into a quiet confidence in myself. I no longer worried about the lights because I knew I could do them. And I'm telling you, the swagger that I walked through the halls with, like, I got this. Though it was funny that one of my lecturers had kind of like saw me as I was going to the toilet before the second dress and was like, "How are you feeling?" And I was like, ask me after the second dress, because the first one for me, had went slightly ski with. And she like cornered me by the toilets and had a pep talk with me, and I was like, "This is fabulous, but I really need to pee. That's why I'm going to the toilet before second dress, but I appreciate it." And then the show started and fell into a brilliant rhythm with my DSM and chatting and like being able to like call the cues and like getting the rhythm that we had to be able to do the show. And it was a successful show. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Grimm Tales. It was a fantastic first placement with a fantastic and lovely crew, and I really enjoyed every minute that I spent on that show. And now I am currently an ASM on a production of London Road, which is a musical about the murders of sex workers in Ipswich in 2006. It's a real life musical. It's a musical based on real life events. But that's placement 2 for me. Probably won't be a video because I haven't filmed anything for it. But this is the video for placement 1, and I hope you enjoyed it. Here is a video from the last day. Okay, so first of all, ignore what my fringe is doing. I washed it and it has a life of its own, as per usual. But today is closing night of Grimm Tales. I'm very sad about it. I'm going to miss it. It's been a lot of fun and a massive learning experience, and I'm currently on my way to the theatre to do that show. So I have got Brody's coffee and a sandwich to eat on the way because it's a 15-minute walk to get to college where the theatre is. But yeah, so I thought in the spirit of it being the last day, I will try and show you as much as possible about what I do. Bear in mind I work a lot in the dark because it's the show on hair, and we are in complete darkness with only a few tiny lights that don't pick up faces or anything during the show, so we're not distracting because we're meant to be backstage ninjas.
time I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface.
So this is our set, and the first thing I do when I get in is I generally just like get myself in sorted. I'm actually 5 minutes early today. We are not called to be in for another 5 minutes, and like that's when we start our like fire up and stuff. But I'm doing mine now because I have to rig check, and that is something I need to get done for the ASMs. Well, not get done, but I like to get done before the ASMs come in and do things that need light. So here we go. So this is kind of my area. It's like I have this desk, I have my comms here, I push this to talk. This is my script that has all of my cues in it and what I need to do pre-show. And I'm going to switch on this desk, which is very rainbow. There we go. This is the list of cues that are in our show. We have 305 in total, plus a warm-up state. And this view shows me what my lights are doing, or at least it should. And these are my sliders. So I have munition lights. I usually have it at a safety of 40% in case something happens and it goes down. I have control over the workers on my own desk, so I can slide these up and down. I haven't switched over control yet, but I will. I have ones on the trusses, which are those boys. This is for a particular point in the show where to change lighting state I like boost these for a chopping sequence. These are called submaster faders. And then I have fan, haze and smoke. And now I'm going to find our venue tech so he can power on the lights so I can do my rig check. So I have given the shout of going darker, which means I'm going to take the workers out. So that means I'm going to take the seating bank and the workers out and leave the bulkheads up, and this is my. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one, highlight, enter, and what this means is that I can just click next, and what I'm doing is I'm just trying to test all of the lights. So I did intend to like show you what the rig check looks like. Usually I do channel 1 highlight and then I skip through one by one, but as luck would have it, we had a problem in the fact that the dimmer room wasn't getting DMX to it, so I didn't have control to the desk, so I had to do a bit of troubleshooting with the help of a venue tech. Ran through, just checked all the connections, and it literally was a case of turning it off and on again to make sure that it just turned out that I need to re-plug back in. Like, it was already plugged in, but for some reason there's a glitch and it didn't recognize that it needed to be sending signals, so I had to just pull out a cord, put it back in, and then we just put all of the lights up at full, and I just walked on the stage and looked at every light to make sure it was turning on, and that's how I did the rig this time. So usually I just press one neck and flick through and look at it from the control room, but today I went onto stage and looked at it because all the lights were up already. So that's rig check done. That is one of my pre-show duties. The next pre-show things I have to do is check all the batteries in the candelabras and make sure they are not dimming. It's our final show, so they are dimming a bit. I'm not too worried, but I might, if they're going to turn off during the show, I might replace the batteries. Check things like the practicals, like the wolf's head, check the oil lamp, and replace the battery in the flicker light and turn the resistor on. Resistor transistor. There's a word for it. I keep messing it up, but yeah, I need to sort all of that out, and I'm done pretty early. Fun times. So this is where the control room is. We like dump all our bags here. Our stage manager has got us donuts. This is the battery that I will be changing out. Through there is sound. He is in the space doing his sound because he needs to mix live because we have a band. And this is where the DSM sits. And that is the God mic. It is very fun to use. And that's these are flight cases that all of our stuff has to go back into on get out. This is another one of my tasks, is switching out this battery and turning this resistor on. So I think how it works. Our stage manager is doing appreciation.
Welcome to the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. In all of our shared spaces, we ask you to keep yourself and others safe by sanitizing your hands and wearing a face covering. Thank you.
Dresses Seaman, you said his husband's
And that's
fine.
me back.
Every day they
You just told me.
Okay, but one person's done.
Hello, hello.
There's a little picture from the cast on there for you, but I'll grab it to you when you're over down.
Aww.
So it's smaller.
I don't know why for one of these cables that go to the desk to literally the bus, it's a 20-meter cable.
Because you transferred it down there and no one ever changed the cables.
The funny thing is we had a spare 10. We just plugged it and we were like, fuck it.
Why not?
We're like, this is happening.
The rare, the massive long cable on the GSM desk. I'm like, why?
Like, but why?
It's sat right next to the little point.
Just, you know, in case you decide you want to go on a dander with your desk. You know, you mean you don't take it for walks at intervals?
Oh, I don't. I know I should. He's walking twice a day.
He's gonna feel very neglected.
It really is.
I'm very, very paranoid about my cabling.
Oh, if I know the best.
So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything about that process you want to hear more about. I'll be happy to talk about it. Make sure you click that bell to get notifications when I post. You know, when I actually post. Make sure to subscribe to get more content and follow my social medias in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you all next time. Bye!
3, 2, 1.